Okay, I have another knife to review for you today. Today I'm going to be talking about the Benchmade Dejavoo. This is the full-size Dejavoo. The model is the BM740. Very popular knife. A lot of people have been talking about this one, and it's been here for a little bit, a couple of years now. When I first saw this knife, when I first saw it came out, I liked the design overall. I thought it was very cool looking. Took me a while to get a hold of one. I actually got this in a used condition, but I like it. To be honest, there's a lot of war wounds on this blade. It shows a lot of honest wear, which I really like. You know, a lot of people, they don't like scratches on their blades, and they like them to be pristine. That's kind of the collector in you, kind of thinking, oh, you know, crap, there's a scratch on it, or you know, it's kind of messed up. I kind of like that. It's just, like I said, honest wear. Shows that you are using your tool as it's meant to be used. But anyway, let me start off with some specs on this. Like I said, this is the model 740, the full-size Dejavoo, having a blade just under 4 inches. The full length of the blade is 3.95 inches. The handle itself is 5.17 inches long, making the overall length of the knife 9.12 inches, so just over 9 inches, which is kind of a medium to large, I would say large size folder, for sure. It's not a small one. I mean, if you like smaller knives, they do make the mini Dejavoo, which is identical, just in a smaller package. The weight on this is 4.1 ounces, which is identical to the Benchmade Model 42 Balisong. So if you do own the Model 42 Balisong, it's the exact same weight. Weight distribution is a little different. Obviously, the Benchmade Balisong has 2 handles, but overall, it's identical, 4.1 ounces. Being a bigger blade, that's really not too bad on weight. Some minor details on this is that the washers inside that are on either side of the blade that keep the blade nice and smooth opening is bronze phosphorus, which is actually preferred. A lot of people like those. There's a couple different modern washer materials that people like. Some like Teflon, some prefer the bronze phosphorus. It just makes for a smooth opening. I mean, if you keep your knives lubed up and oiled properly, you shouldn't have any problems with it sticking. But it's just a nice little bonus. Attention to detail, that kind of stuff. And it does make for a very smooth knife. I mean, in flicking this knife out, I mean, it's super smooth. Really nice. I would put this probably under the gentleman's folder. It's more of a classy, high-end folding knife. You can use this, you know, for harder, tougher cutting tasks, but it lacks a couple things that you might want. One being there's no jimping at all. But I'll be completely honest with you. Because of the design here, how this handle flares out on both sides, your hand's not going anywhere. I mean, you got to really be doing some tough work to have this slip. I mean, my thumb just naturally falls right into that little crest, and it's not going anywhere. But I know a lot of people like that. They like the jimping, they like the cutouts, so that's something to consider. It is nice and smooth. Another thing, too, is that the handle material is a G10, and a lot of us think of G10 as being textured and grippy. However, the material itself has nothing to do with what the texture is going to be like. I mean, that's up to the manufacturer, how they actually produce it. And in this case, the G10 is very smooth. Again, falling under the gentleman's type knife, I like that, you know, in that kind of category. It's totally different. Most of the G10, if not all of it, have been checkered or you know, grippy in some way or another. This is very smooth, very slick. Gives a nice overall look on the knife itself. Like I said, it might be a factor for you if you really use your knives really hard. You do lack some grip on the handle there. But again, like I said, you know, with the flaring out here, I've had no problems with this. I've been carrying this for a while now. Not a problem as far as grip's concerned. It's very comfortable. The ergonomics are really good on this one. This does flare out in the bottom here. You have enough handle to, you know, get a good grip on it. Like I said, I have probably medium to large size hands. You can see I still have a little bit of room to work with here. If you have super duper large hands, you know, I mean really big ones, in gripping this knife, your pinky might fall into this area here, which might be a little uncomfortable to grip. I don't see it being a problem for the general masses, though. Only if you have some big old monster hands. But the ergos on this are pretty nice. As far as the pocket clip, it's only mounted in one position, and that is a right side carry, tip down, as you see here. It is not swappable or reversible, so it's only in this one position. If you don't like it, you can remove it. 2 little torque screws. You can pop it off if you want. What's really cool is that when you do like a cutout like this on the pot clip towards the top here, it makes it easier to flex. I mean, it's really easy to get in and out of the pocket, but it's not loose where it's going to fall out. I actually really like that a lot. Little cutouts like that help with that. Sometimes you get some really stiff clips, and it gives you a hard time to kind of get those in and out of your pocket, and they grip a little bit too hard, and they end up putting a little bit more wear on your pocket where you're carrying them. The blade itself is a CPM S30V stainless steel. Needs no introduction. Proven steel, high end, works great, great edge retention. I mean, a lot of you guys already know that. My preferred steel. I happen to like S30V quite a bit. I love the blade shape on this. Really, really love it. Very, very good performing blade, as well as this aesthetics. I think it just looks really nice. Overall, I really like the look of this knife. It does have a cutout hole for deployment, and it's not a thumb stud. I would prefer a thumb stud. However, I have no problem with this. I mean, I guess maybe I'm easy to please, but even though I do like thumb studs, I don't mind opening holes like this. One advantage of having an opening hole as opposed to a stud is when you're wearing gloves, it's a little easier to open. From experience, thumb studs are kind of hard to get out and manipulate with heavy gloves on. You know, heavy winter gloves. So the hole is a good advantage, and in that respect. In combination of the bronze phosphorus washers here, and the fact that it's just, you know, the tolerances on this are pretty nice. It's just a really smooth opening knife. You'll flick that open nice and fast. See here. Get that blade out nice and fast. Another thing I really like about this knife too is that the liners are actually titanium. On average, I would say probably a good, well, I don't really want to give like a percentage on this because it's kind of a guess, but I would say the majority of liner locking knives, they use some kind of stainless steel. A lot of times they use a 410 stainless, something like that. This is actually titanium. They have a titanium liners on this knife, which is cool. And as you can see here, get a good reflection, you can see they are skeletonized. There are holes drilled out to save on weight on this side here. And then you have your locking side, which is not drilled out, but they don't do that for, you know, for strength. But they did drill them, so you do save a little weight on that. You can see there it goes all the way to the end. I get the light in there. So that is skeletonized for you. Very strong. A lot of people have issues with liner locks. I think if it's coming from a good company and it's done right, you shouldn't have any problems. I mean, under normal use and normal conditions, a liner lock won't fail on you, okay, unless you have a really cheap knife. But Benchmade does it right, and especially in their higher end knives like this. Speaking of higher end, this is a really nice knife, but it won't cost you an arm and a leg. I've seen, doing some research, prices on these, they average out to about $100 even. I've seen it as low as $85, which is actually a steal on this knife. But I've seen them as expensive as $120. So, you know, shop around, but expect to pay around $100 or so. Let's see, what else can I say about this knife? Let's talk a little bit about some cons, things I don't like. Even though it's a really nice knife, there are some setbacks. One thing is the pot clip. It's not an issue for me, however, it might be an issue for you. I kind of cope with whatever it is. If I like the knife design in general, I'll carry it any way they meant for it to be carried. Not an issue for me. However, I do like mentioning it because I know a lot of people are very picky and specific about their clip and other things like that. One thing too is, as I showed before, I generally flick the knife out. However, if you're one of the guys who manually just pushes it out like that, this design, having this flare out like this, it gets in the way. You could see here how this pivots, how this hole pivots around. Naturally, you know, you're going to put your thumb in the hole like this, and the side of your thumb is going to rub on this. You know, it's pretty strong rub. It's not like you're just catching it. I mean, you're really rubbing your finger into there if you open it like this, nice and slow. So that's something to consider. Something I've noticed right away when I got it. You know, just opening and closing it, fiddling with the knife. If you do this a lot, that's probably going to annoy you. It's going to irritate your thumb a little bit. So it's something to take note. Again, a downside for some people would be the lack of jimping anywhere. Not an issue for me. I found that the grip was totally fine without it. But again, I know people are picky, so I want to point it out. Besides that, I really don't see anything else that I don't like about it. I like everything about this knife. One thing I wanted to take note too is that you have a half back spacer here. Strangely enough, it's not the same material as a G10. If I can get my little jeweler's loop here, I'll bring you in nice and close and show you what I'm talking about. Now you can see the texture. Oh, let me get you in focus here. You could, if I get the light, there we go. You can see the texture of the G10 scale. G10 is a layered laminate. Okay, and you can see that texture on there. Now if I come over by the spacer, you can see the texture on that spacer is a lot, you know, it's going to be very hard to see there, but it is different. I don't feel it's the same as the G10. I mean, I could be wrong on this, but it just feels very different to me. It's kind of a mystery material, and of course, you know, Benchmade doesn't, they don't dwell on the material they use for their spacer. On all the specs and everything else they tell you about the knife, they don't say a single thing about the spacer because most people really don't care about it. Something I did notice though, it's a little strange. I don't know what it is, but I mean, it serves its purpose. It doesn't have to be strong. It doesn't have to be, you know, it doesn't have to be something super expensive or, like I said, you know, strong material. It's just acting as a spacer. So I just, you know, I don't know why. I just wanted to point that out to you guys. Something I found out, minor detail. But overall, really like this knife a lot. It's a great knife to use. It's actually a great knife to collect. Like I said, you know, very sad Bob Lum passed away, like I said, in '07. But that does add value to the knife itself. If you do have this knife brand new, down the road, people are going to be looking for these. So, you know, if you have the knife, you can save it for collectability purposes, which is really cool. A lot of people are into that. They like to just collect knives. They don't really use them that much. But you know what? If you want to buy this to use it, by all means, please do. It's a great workhorse. So anyway, that's my review, finally, of the Benchmade Dejavoo. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Alright guys, well I want to pop back in here for a minute and do some cutting footage. I know I've kind of lacked that in recent reviews. To be honest, it's just for entertainment purposes. It doesn't really show how your knife is going to perform. Because A, you can get pretty much any knife razor sharp. Just, you know, it depends. The difference between different knives and quality and steel is how long you're going to have that sharp edge. So these cutting demos, they're not really reflecting the knife itself, more so that it's sharp at that point. It doesn't mean you're going to get it new or used and it's going to be sharp for you. But like I said, it is entertaining, so I figured I'd pop this little clip in real quick. As you can see, I've been cutting a bunch of crap already. However, I was making this same video clip, and the neighbor pulled in the driveway, and my dog started going nuts. So it kind of ruined the clip there. But I figured I'd pop the camera on again, give it another try. So I'm just going to do a couple different materials here. First is just some paper. This is hotel paper. See there, Hilton or Holiday Inn or something. I don't know. It's not for me. But anyway, just do some paper cutting. You can see here, nice and sharp. Some paper, pretty easy. Let's try something a little bit harder to cut. Some seatbelt. Some seatbelt here. This is obviously a lot harder to cut than paper. It's more of a realistic test too, because you know, you might just have to use your everyday folder, you know, to bail out of a car in an emergency. So this would be a realistic test. Just going to start the base here, push out. Okay, there's enough blade here. There's almost 4 inches of blade, so this should just go through one pass, which it does. Not too much force needed for this. Nice clean cut too. You know, you can cut seatbelt like that with a couple different, you know, a bunch of different knives that aren't as sharp as this, but just nice quick, clean cut, which is cool. Something a little bit harder to do would be to, and you kind of see it in the background a little bit, is to just freehand cut this all the way down. It doesn't matter how sharp your knife is, because this is so flexible, it's going to want to give and move on you. But I'll give it a little go here for you. Yeah, see, as I go down, it's going to want to bend. That's why I bend it over, so I have some kind of stability there, okay, when I cut. Then as you cut through, it's going to cut straight across, as opposed to just bending all over the place. But anyway, I thought I'd show you this anyway. Why not, right? doesn't look all that impressive, but trust me, grab some seatbelt and see how hard it is to cut. It does cut through, as you saw. I mean, if the seatbelt's, you know, pressed across your, you know, your shoulders there, you can pop your knife out and bam, it's off. Let's also try some military belt, some military surplus webbing. It's actually a belt that came with a canteen from a military surplus store. Let's try that, see how well it works. Works just fine. Cuts right through it. Another thing, actually the last thing I have here to show you real quick, is just a plastic packaging. You know, this is just an average plastic packaging you're going to get from the store. Something I use my knife quite often for is when I buy stuff like this, and it's kind of laminated shut on the sides here. It's a pain to open. So I figured I'd just do a quick little cutting test with this. The Dejavoo has a nice tip for piercing. This is where you're going to want, you know, a nice fine tip. Most likely you're not going to be using your knife for self-defense too much, so a lot of people ask, you know, why do you want a nice fine tip? Stuff like this for penetration, maybe originally into your cardboard box for opening a box, or in this case into plastic. So goes in like it's nothing, slides right through. Very simple. Let's try that again. Goes in easily, slides right across. In, across. Very easy to open packaging like this, which normally can be a real pain in the butt, especially if you break out the scissors. Nice fine knife, and you can do some precision cutting. Obviously, when you're opening something, you have your product in there. You don't want to cut what you just bought, so you can do some fine cutting. Get that tip just in a little bit, get a good hold grip on it. And if you can see, I'm cutting with just the tip, you know, so I'm not penetrating into the package and cutting what I just purchased. Like I said, especially if you have some kind of material item in there, you don't want to cut it just trying to open the package. But anyway, as you can see there, nice and easy. So hopefully this was somewhat entertaining for you. But that's all. Like I said, the only purpose it serves is for entertainment. Doesn't really say anything about the knife specifically. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.